health. And it turns out she had driven all the way from outside of Memphis, Tennessee. That's nearly 900 miles from Memphis to Green Bay. And she was standing there, and she kind of waved at Dad a little bit, and she said, "Could I say hello to you for just a second?" And he nodded, and we walked over to her, and her story was amazing. She said that, "I couldn't afford to go to the gala on Friday night or the event to honor you on Saturday night, but I wanted to wait to see you because what you've been doing in trying to transcend your strokes has inspired me to try to beat my cancer." And we noted that she was just about in tears as we were, and she said, that's all I had. I just wanted to give you a hug. And she left. And I want you to think about something for just a minute. You say, isn't that wonderful that Dad inspired her so much? His take on it would be different. Who did the inspiring there? From his perspective, it was he who was blessed by her. We all were too. We were stunned that someone would drive that far and express that level of gratitude to him and therefore to our whole family. When you see these amazing players on the stage and throughout this group here, who was more blessed? Dad was blessed by the best head coach imaginable, a phenomenal organization that gave him a chance, and terrific teammates. He was blessed to meet John Gillespie. What we talked about when we concluded last night in the Lambeau Field atrium is that he and Mom have been more richly blessed and fortunate than anything they could have done. It has been a mutually beautiful and respectful and loving relationship with the entire community, and this is the epicenter of everything that matters to the Wisconsin community. So to all of you here today, remember that all Dad and Mom have tried to do over the years is merely reflect and mirror the goodness that is pervasive. It was pervasive back in the 60s, it's pervasive today, and we are going to do our best to perpetuate that for decades to come, to take what is already here and just enhance it to the best we can. So thank you for your generosity in joining us. And I want to make sure that I now turn it over to my mom for a quick comment, and then we're going to make a very special presentation to Alan Laux, the remarkable director here.
Thank you. And I guess you know why I'm such a proud mom today. I have an amazing son. You have heard so many fun and inspiring stories today that I don't have a lot I could improve on, but I do want to say a couple of things to you. But it starts with this gentleman next to me. This day, yesterday, and this entire weekend would never have happened unless Mark Murphy had the idea of honoring Bart for this entire weekend. And it has been such a blessing in my life, and Bart's, and my family. And Mark, I want to thank you so much. He truly has been amazing to our family for the last 5 years. And I'm so grateful to him. Now, I do want to share a couple of stories with you, and those that were present last night heard these stories, but I think it's worth telling again because they're two of my favorite stories. But I'm going to start with you, Ezra Johnson. I see you sitting back there. When Bart was coaching, not every player was married, and when they would get injured and have to go to the hospital, they didn't have a parent or a wife to come comfort them. So I always went to every player and stayed with him through his surgery, and I was there when they woke up, and then I would call their parents to let them know that their child was okay. It doesn't matter how old your child is, you still want to know that they're doing well. And Ezra had surgery, and I had called his mother, and I said, when he comes out of surgery, I'm going to let you talk to him so you'll know he did just fine. And she appreciated that call. So and of course we had no cell phones in those days. But when Ezra came back to the room, and I think he was still a little under the influence of the anesthesia, because he still felt pretty good. He didn't feel as bad. And I said, now Ezra, I have your sweet mother on the phone, and I'm going to hand the phone to you, and I want you to tell her that you feel really good, and that will make her really happy. And he said, okay. So I handed Ezra, and I said, well, I'm going to put your son on the phone now. And she said, okay, thank you. And I handed him the phone, and he said, Mama, I'm dying. Now, I've told this story several times, but it honestly is my very favorite story to tell about Bart. And many of you have heard it, but you're just going to have to listen again. Bart and I have a small place down in Sandestin, Florida. And we went quite frequently, and sometimes with friends. But we were riding along one day on our way down there. And we love the El Depots. I don't remember if you all remember the four tenors. They just have beautiful voices. Mm-hmm. And they were singing Unchained Melody. And it was Bart's my favorite song. So we're riding along, and all of a sudden, I felt his hand on mine. And I said, well, isn't that sweet? And then a minute, he squeezed my hand. And I said, gosh, this is so romantic. And then he kind of looked at me as he's driving along, and he said, Cherry, darling, he said, I want you to promise that you will play this at my wedding. He meant to say funeral. And I said, gosh, Bart, I'm not even dead yet, and you're already planning your next wedding.
That may have been his revenge for your, back in the 1960s, Dad received a remarkable letter in the mail. During the Vietnam War, players would go to Japan and meet the injured soldiers. Again, a lot of you know this story too, but that's okay. And Mom had a certain way with things, and she pointed out the letter to me and then said, come watch this. So we walked back into Dad's office, and there's an envelope postmarked from Japan, and on the address is nothing. It just says, to the world's greatest quarterback. And she hands it to him, and she said, from Japan, right, I thought I mentioned, I'm sorry, from Japan to the world's greatest quarterback. They had just won the second of 3 world titles. She said, here, sweetie, can you tell me how we can forward this to Johnny Unitas? About to some serious business now, Alan. Would you like to make this presentation with me? Alan, you mentioned earlier something very special about, well, if you could just remind the folks what Rawhide is going to be embarked upon next.
So our next big expansion here at Rawhide is going to be adding another boys' home, because we have expanding needs here, and we're going to